What's up guys, I'm Mr.Physio here. Today I'm going to talk about shoulder impingement, which accounts for maybe 50% of shoulder problems, more than 50% easily. Actually, this is a broad term that can refer to a variety of shoulder problems, so it shouldn't be used as a diagnosis. It's a piece of information that you just note when it comes to shoulder problems. Shoulder problems are quite complicated, so we can't really cover that all of this. So I'll briefly tell you what it is and rotator cuff muscles that are most important in terms of shoulder problems. Okay, so this is right shoulder and this is shoulder blade, and collarbone is going to attach on the bone called acromion, and then you've got a prom bone dangling down there. So there's a little space in between these two. Shoulder impingement is where one of the rotator cuff muscles called supraspinatus is pinched between these two bones. That's acromion, that's your collarbone attached like this, and that's a upper arm bone. So between these two bones there is a space where the supraspinatus tendon is going through, and on top of that you've got bursa. Bursa is sac of fluid that makes your shoulder movement smooth. So when you lift your arm up out to the side, this muscle is being used. This muscle contracts and that's lifting your arm out to the side. And when you get to 90 degree, there is a compression point. The space between these two bones is getting narrow or even closing down and pinching the muscle between these two bones. And you might end up getting tear or even surgery if you don't address it properly. So this is called external shoulder impingement because that's happening outside of the shoulder joint, and internal impingement is actually within that shoulder joint. This is a more common problem we have. So this type of shoulder impingement, external shoulder impingement, is divided into two types again, depending on the causes of the pain. So first cause is a primary cause. Primary cause is due to the bony shape. So this bone shape, some people were born with just a little bit of hooked bone or curved bone, bony abnormalities down here. That's actually sticking into the muscle, and you're likely to get impingement there. If you have like primary cause, you might need to avoid overhead activities, or some doctors may suggest a surgery to cut off this excessive bone, I would say, so that you've got more space down here. So external impingement caused by secondary cause is the most common one. So it is caused by many issues like muscle strength, shoulder blade movement, thoracic mobility, core, pelvic imbalance, linkage, a lot of things. Too much. So obviously we can't do everything today, so I'll probably briefly touch on the first two, muscle strength and the shoulder blade movement. So you've got tip of the shoulder acromion, and you've got upper arm bone attached here, and you've got also a collarbone attached like this. So this pen is your collarbone. So collarbone is like that and attached like this. So when you lift your arm up, that space in between these two bones gets narrow when you get to 90 degree. Even before 90 degree it gets closed down. But we all get to 180 degree, right? So we can actually lift our arm up to 180 degree. How is it possible if the space closes down at 90 degree? That's because of the shoulder blade movement, okay? So when you get to about 30 degree, your shoulder blade starts to move out to the side like this. So that lower angle of the scapula here, that's actually going out. Okay, so ideally when you lift your arm up forward or out to the side at 180 degree, you should be able to feel that lower angle of the scapula here below the armpit line. So this angle now, I can feel it here. So if you can't feel it when you get to 180 degree, if you can't feel this bone, so you've got lack of shoulder blade movement. So this is upward rotation of the scapula. Scapula is a shoulder blade, right? So scapula works best in an ideal position. It shouldn't go out to the side, it shouldn't go upwards or downwards sometimes. It should not happen. If that happens, you're likely to get that impingement happening. Alright? So for example, if your shoulder blade is tilted forward, that space is facing down now. If you try to lift your arm up forward, that space closes down a lot more quicker. That's one of the examples of what's happening when you have like round shoulder. So round shoulder, the space is already facing down. There are 4 rotator cuff muscles. I'll do one on the front first, and then second one on top, and the remaining 2 in the last video. So there will be 2 more videos coming. Let's have a look at the function of the rotator cuff muscles. The primary mover of the upper arm bone is actually deltoid muscles. So when the deltoid muscles lift your arm up, the rotator cuff muscles pull the head of the humerus downwards. Again, when the deltoid muscles pull your arm up, the rotator cuff muscles pull your head of the humerus downwards. Without this action, the humerus will definitely hit the undersurface of the acromion, which is shoulder impingement. That's why the rotator cuff muscles is so important. So let's say my head is head of humerus, this one. And this bar is acromion, the tip of the shoulder. And you've got collarbone attached like this. So there's a ceiling. So we shouldn't actually hit the ceiling, right? But the deltoid pulls me up this way. Deltoid starts from here. So that pulls me up this way. So it's likely to hit the ceiling. My head is going to hit the ceiling, right? And there's muscle between my head and this bar. If my head hits the ceiling, I will pinch the muscle up here. But someone else, rotator cuff muscles, they pull my ear down. Watch out! Keep your head down, keep your head down. Pulling my ears down. We've got more space there. And then I can move backwards, which means the humerus goes up without hitting the ceiling. So to avoid that, the rotator cuff function is critical. Therefore, when you think of it, the rotator cuff muscles have to fight against that stretched force. So when the upper arm bone goes up, this muscle is being stretched out, but it has to fight against it, which means your muscle is being used while it's being stretched out. Does it sound familiar? That sounds very familiar to me because that's what I'm always emphasizing in this channel. It is an eccentric contraction. It is a lengthening of the muscle. That's why we need to train them in a similar way, which I will show you later. First muscle, subscapularis, is starting from the inside of the shoulder blade and going to attach on the front part of your upper arm bone. So when it contracts, that's pulling your shoulder inwards, pulling your arm inwards like this, okay? But we actually do a lot of things with our arms, like rotated inwards, like this, computer, cooking, driving, whatever. When you stand up, if your thumb's pointing inwards rather than forward, that means your arms are already rotated inwards. Unless you have some, pronator, so a forearm muscle tightness. Some people already have round shoulder and their arm rotated inwards. That means you put that muscle into the shortened position, and if your muscle sits in a shortened position for a long time, that will get tightened up. And once it gets tightened up, that's pulling your shoulder blade in that way, out to the side, like this. To massage that muscle, you need something like this. Anything that you can apply pressure with. I'm using my tripod. When you bring your arm up away from you, about maybe 60 degree, like that. If it's 90 degree, you just go about 60 degree. So the inside of the shoulder blade, it will be a bit exposed. So you just stick the thing into the inside of the shoulder blade, like this. This is my armpit here. If you press your fingertips into the back of the armpit, you can actually feel a bit of bony area. If you feel numb in your hand, of course you shouldn't continue, but just apply gentle pressure so that you can loosen up that muscle. Don't push into your armpit, of course. You just push from the front backwards, like this. If you can't do that, it's okay. You just do the exercises, the next exercise. So the muscle's main action is rotating your arm inwards like that. So anything that brings your arm inwards, that's activating that muscle. And if your arm goes backwards like this, your muscle is being stretched out. So we'll activate the muscle and stretch out at the same time. So I'm push my hand against something, against the wall, against furniture or whatever. Just push that, and I've just activated my muscle. And from there, I am rotating out to the side, away from the arm, and that's actually stretching out that muscle. So shoulders back, and push your hand into something. That's activated that subscapularis, and then you're actually rotating your whole body away from the hand. That's lengthening that muscle, that's stretching that muscle. So your muscle is activated and you're slowly stretching out that muscle, which means your muscle is being used at the same time being lengthened. That's how you use that muscle when you lift your arm up, like I said. So deltoid muscle is pulling you up, but that muscle, the subscapularis, is pulling your humerus, head of the humerus downwards that way. Hope that makes sense. You can even do it with your hand. So pushing into your other hand. My right side is the one I'm working on. So your right hand pushing into your left hand, and try to push away with your left hand while pushing it in. Probably I put it this way. So left hand pushing your right hand away from you while right hand is kind of resisting. But let the left hand slowly win. Maybe from here to there. That's a good starting point. And you can, once you can do that without any pain, you can probably push in and just slowly rotate your arm, so rotate your whole body away from your right hand. So when you do that, you probably want to have some space between your body and the arm itself, elbow I mean. And then once you can do that, 0-degree angle, you can go a little bit out to the side, 45-degree, 0-degree, and lift your arm a little bit higher, push into the wall, and just rotate. And again, keeping your shoulder backwards. Don't push it too far forward. So 0-degree, 45-degree we've just done, and 90-degree. Push your hand into the wall. And rotate your body away from the hand. So today I've just explained the different function of the rotator cuff, and a little bit deeper in terms of the subscapularis, which is one of the rotator cuff muscles. So please wait for my next videos. I've got 2 more videos to address the rest of the rotator cuff muscles. So I will see you next time.